In this video, I'm going to talk about the common misconceptions that students might have in the class of algebra. Now, the first misconception that I have for you is that if two variables equal each other, this can be confusing to students. Now, let's take A plus B is equal to A plus C. Thus, B is equal to C. The misconception here is that the different letters can't be the same number because, well, they're different letters. Again, this is confusing to certain students because they think, well, if B equals 2, C can't equal 2 because it's not B. Again, just a misconception. One of the things we need to start with is we need to learn and define some of these words that we're talking about, what these letters mean. Now, the first thing I will define is what's called an unknown. Unknowns have a certain value or multiple values. Here's an example. Let's say we have 3x equals 9. Well, therefore, x would equal 3. Also, we have x squared equals 4. When you do the square root of 4, you get -2, and x is equal to +2. Therefore, the x in this case is an unknown because it represents a set of fixed quantities. Notice fixed is the word I use. The second thing I want to define is variable. See, variable is very different from an unknown. A variable does not have a fixed value because they represent the positive values for a given quantity. Here's an example. Tangent x is equal to sine of x over cosine of x. Here in this example, the x is a variable in this equation because this equation is true for any value you plug in for x. No matter what it is, no matter what way you enter it in, each of these x's with any value is true. Again, students might sometimes get confused because they are both represented by a letter. One of the examples for the first misconception we talked about where B equals C, here's an example. We have 2a minus 4 equals 0. Well, by adding 4 to both sides, dividing a 2 out, we get a equals 2. Here's the other example. We have 3b equals 6. When you divide the 3 out and you get b by itself, b is equal to 2. So therefore, a equals 2 and b equals 2. Thus, a equals b. Like we had in the first common misconception is that two variables, two letters represent the exact same value, which again can be confusing to certain students. So we as teachers, we must stress to our students that just because the representation of a variable or an unknown is different, this doesn't mean they cannot be equivalent.